This program is brought to you care of the following sponsors. One thing that I'm sure of is that you've got a plan to survive this madness. Like on a sound counting any good songs, supposing drum speed, then a band power and
Man, I had to bring out the PS3 for this one. For those who don't know, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax is a sequel to a sequel. You heard me. The original Persona 4 Arena continued the story from both Persona 3 and Persona 4. So I guess Ultimax is actually a sequel of a sequel of a sequel. My head hurts. And honestly, if you haven't played Persona 3 and 4, then what have you been doing with your life? All jokes aside, I guess it's a good thing this HD remaster is going to include the story elements of the original Arena game, because there's a lot of story points. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so let me backtrack a bit. And please keep in mind there will be some major spoilers for Persona 3, as one of the characters is directly impacted from Persona 3 and Persona 3 FES. So please, I urge you to go play Persona 3 FES if you haven't. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax is a fighting game set in the Persona 3, 4, and 5 universe. Those who are unaware, Persona 1 and 2 are technically in a different universe. This fighting game was developed by Arc Systems, so combat is fast, reactive, and very punishing if you aren't deep in the fighting mechanics. But being a fighting game, it is very much a Persona game. And being such, it is very story heavy. P4 Arena Ultimax, gonna have to be honest, that is a mouthful, so let's just call it Ultimax, sees the return of the main cast from Persona 4 and most of the main cast from Persona 3. I say most because there are two characters that cannot be there due to lore and continuity, unless they add them as DLC later, which I would not be opposed. Each character has their personas from the respective games, and their combat style also reflects the way they fought in those said games. So for example, Akihiko from Persona 3 is a brawler, fighting with his fists in a way that expresses his boxing skills, while Yosuke from Persona 4 uses his kunai and speed. This type of combat makes every character different in every way, which makes it even more fun to try out the different cast of characters. Persona 4 Arena also marked the first time the protagonist from Persona 4 had a true name. That name being Yu Narukami. And in keeping with the theme of all the characters using their personas during combat, Narukami uses Izanagi, as it would be too much for him to be swapping personas, mechanically speaking. So here is your warning, as we are going to be heading into spoiler territory. If you have not played Persona 3 or Persona 4 or Arena or Ultimax, I urge you to at least play Persona 3 and 4. You have been warned. Arena takes place 2 months after the events of Persona 4, and more than 2 years from the end of Persona 3. Arena is told from the perspectives of 12 different cast members, and Ultimax continues that trend but with a different twist, being told in chapters and episodes. The story begins during Golden Week as Narukami returns to Inaba to visit his friends. Chie tells Narukami that rumors of the Midnight Channel have returned. Yosuke, Yukiko, Chie, and Narukami wonder what's going on as the Midnight Channel should be gone after the events of Persona 4. The 4 of them see the channel on TV, all the while half of their friends go missing, presumably to the TV world. They enter the TV world only to find themselves at their school where a tournament is being held by a version of Teddy calling himself General Teddy. But things are a bit different than before. It seems they cannot leave and must fight their friends in this tournament. As you progress through the game, you encounter Mitsuru from Persona 3, which unlocks her after you face her in combat. Playing through Mitsuru's story reveals the events before Arena. The C's Specialized Extracurricular Execution Squad, that is a mouthful, I know, has been disbanded after the events of Persona 3, and she now leads a secret operation known as the Shadow Operatives. They work with the government to hunt shadows and deal with all the Persona activities, as Mitsuru still feels responsible from all that was caused by her family 10 years prior to the events of Persona 3. During the events of Arena, only Mitsuru, Akihiko, and Aigis are active as part of the Shadow Operatives. During a top-secret mission, one of their cargo was stolen, which contained the newest anti-shadow humanoid weapon named Labrys. Tracking down the assailant to Yasu Inaba, Mitsuru and Aigis meet with Akihiko and enter the TV world. All while they were being spied on by Naoto, who was hired by Public Safety, and she enters in the TV world as well. As you play the game with Narukami, you will eventually encounter Elizabeth, the Velvet Room attendant from Persona 3. The last we heard about Elizabeth was from her sister Margaret, who briefly explained that she took over as Elizabeth decided to go on a self-journey to save someone. After the encounter, Elizabeth leaves and we can now play as her. Her story to me is one of the most tragic in the series. Stricken by grief in honor of the sacrifice that the protagonist from Persona 3 made, Minato or Makoto, name depends on the source, sacrificed himself at the end of Persona 3 using the bonds he made along the way and became the seal that prevents Nyx from returning to the world, which would cause the end to everything. Incidentally, this also causes Erebus, another demon, to return every year to attempt to break that seal, with Elizabeth showing up to prevent that from happening. Sensing all the Persona users gathering in the TV world, she enters the TV world herself to find a way to save Makoto. Since Elizabeth's story has the least impact in the overall story for Arena and Ultimax, we will run through it as her story acts as an epilogue to Persona 3 FES. After encountering Yu and Aigis, Elizabeth is disappointed to not find the answer she was seeking. But through the actions of both Yu and Aigis, both of whom possess the wildcard ability, she finds new questions to lead her. Aigis explains that the power of the wildcard is not a power that belongs to Narukami or herself, and that the power is that of the bonds that have been formed. Realizing this and forming a new resolve, Elizabeth gains her own full arcana, giving her the wildcard ability, which signifies the start of her own journey. In Persona 4 Ultimax, Elizabeth stays to watch the final battle to have a better understanding of her own abilities. Margaret asks Elizabeth to return to the Velvet Room as their brother Theodore is worried, effectively canonizing him from Persona 3 Portable if you play as the female protagonist. Elizabeth tells Margaret that her journey has just begun and she leaves. Margaret comments that she will see Elizabeth again, but the next time Elizabeth will be a visitor to the Velvet Room herself. As the cast of Persona 4 make their way to the high school, they encounter Labrys, who has been running around calling herself their class president. During their encounter, they learn of Labrys' past, created back in 1999, 10 years prior to the events of Persona 3 by the Kirijo Group. During the time of her development, she was forced to fight others of her model series. And after forming a bond with one of her sisters and then being forced to kill her, Labrys finally snapped and escapes the lab, only to be recaptured and sealed away. Back to the present, the Persona users from both teams defeat the shadow version of Labrys that was created when she entered the TV world. And much like the Persona users of Persona 4, she accepts her shadow version, which awakens her own persona. Victory is cut short, however, as Hino Kagatsuchi, I'm gonna butcher the crap out of that name, reveals itself as the one behind the events of Arena. Taking control of Labrys, she is meant to be the final boss for most of the characters, with some exceptions. After freeing Labrys from the demon's hold, the team decide to find the other culprit behind this, as there was another who kidnapped Labrys in the first place. Outside of the TV world, Labrys meets with the Persona 4 group to thank them and tell them she will be joining the operatives to catch whoever is behind this. After she departs, Narukami and Yosuke reform the investigation team. These events lead to the events of Ultimax. Now, what I don't like about this story is that they left out two of the better characters from Persona 4, Naoto and Kanji, relegating them to side status. Naoto becomes one of the final encounters for the Persona 3 cast as she was investigating them, and Kanji ends up being an extra fighter for Teddy, as Kanji thinks everything about this is a dream. And since we're all caught up now to the events right before Ultimax, I guess we should talk about the actual gameplay mechanics. Much like most fighting games from Arc Systems, you have movements such as high jumps, dash, counters, animation cancels, and more. It has a lot of depth to the gameplay that an average player will probably never learn all the game has to offer. And I'll admit to being one of those average players. Basic attacks are set to a weak attack, persona weak attack, strong, and strong persona attack. You also have a persona gauge that if your persona gets hit, you will lower your persona gauge. And if reduced to 0, your persona is broken and cannot be used until it fully recovers. There are honestly so many different things to go over in gameplay mechanics that I would honestly recommend doing the lesson mode, training mode, and challenge modes to fully understand the gameplay mechanics, as well as getting used to the different characters. Speaking of modes, Ultimax has plenty available. Starting with story mode is done differently than Persona 4 Arena. Arena broke the story down through each character individually, where Ultimax is broken into episodic format. You start in the Persona 4 episode, which takes place immediately after the events of Arena, and once you progress far enough in the Persona 4 story, the Persona 3 story unlocks. The P3 story follows the remaining characters who were not present in Arena. Yukiko, Junpei, Ken, and Koromaru, best dog ever, are led to the TV world where they learn that the members of the Shadow Operatives have been captured. Ultimax also sees the return of Adachi, the antagonist from Persona 4, and here he is a playable character. Adachi, who is awaiting trial from the events of Persona 3, is brought into the TV world by a new character named Sho Minazuki. Episode Adachi is a very well told story about a character who is now seeking redemption, and it acts as a good bookend to the Persona 4 story. Fun fact, Persona 4 Ultimax was originally going to be the first game we would see Joker from Persona 5, as P5 was already in development at that time. But this changed and Sho was added instead. So that pretty much covers the rundown of Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. I know I didn't touch much on the story for Ultimax, but that's because if you haven't experienced the story, then you really should. And I know I mentioned Persona 4 Ultimax has a lot of mechanics to get used to, but I don't want that to turn you away from this game. The game itself makes it very accessible to those who just want to experience the story. And I hope you enjoyed this little breakdown of Ultimax and the recap of Persona 4 Arena. And if you are picking up this remaster, then let me know in the comment section. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you guys are new for more, and I'll see you guys next time. Happy gaming.
was racing at the end. You did it!
Time, heavy punchline about the proof.